Good afternoon, my name is Chris Shaffer. This is my presentation on the parasite Polystoma nearcticum, whose name translates directly to many mouths of the Nearctic region. This region is basically the entirety of North America. It's all of Canada, all of the United States, and most of Mexico. This parasite is an endoparasite of frogs, specifically tree frogs of North America. I'll get into that a little bit later. The larvae of this parasite species attaches itself to tadpoles, and its 6 posterior suckers place it right into the class Monogenia. The orientation of these suckers are also diagnostic for this species in particular, compared to others within this genus. The earliest information that I could find in the history of our knowledge of this species comes from 1935 from somebody named Paul, their last name of course, but the paper I found didn't actually reference whoever this Paul was in their references, so I wasn't able to find anything on that. That same paper also presented some hypotheses that the entire genus of Polystoma may have originated in North America and migrated outward to other continents like Europe and Asia and Africa, but those hypotheses haven't really been finalized or tested yet. The host species for this parasite are the tree frogs of North America, the genus Dryophytes, such as Dryophytes gradiosus, the barking tree frog. This frog lives closer to the lower limit of that Nearctic region in Florida and Louisiana. In their hosts, Polystoma nearcticum lives in tadpole gill chambers, maturing with that tadpole for 22 days, and after which they are expelled from the gill chamber and swim to the anus of another frog, and they ultimately end up in that frog's urinary bladder. The reproduction of Polystoma nearcticum is very interesting because it happens almost simultaneously with its host, the tree frog. When the frog becomes sexually active in the spring, the eggs from this parasite are also released with the frog's own eggs, as you can see in this red square that I've demonstrated. So as those eggs are released, they're released into the water, where they eventually make their way into tadpoles. They live in the gill chambers of these tadpoles, where they mature for 22 days, and then the larvae are eventually washed away out of the gills back into the water, and the free swimming larvae make their way into potentially a completely different frog in the area, still in the water, swimming about, and they swim around and they find the anus of a new frog, and from the anus they make their way into the urinary bladder of that new frog, where they will develop into adulthood, reach sexual maturity, and they will continue the cycle again the next year, just kind of chilling out until the frog is ready to lay eggs, and they will release their own eggs at the same time. As far as the last couple questions, the pathology of the host species, this parasite feeds on the blood of its hosts, and any pathology regarding that would be similar to any other blood-sucking parasite, like fatigue. The frog might get fatigued or have anemia, something like that. I couldn't find anything regarding any sort of ecological impact that this parasite has from being in the frog. It likely isn't so much of a big deal. And as well as that, I wasn't able to find any data regarding defenses that the frogs take to prevent this parasite from entering the tadpoles or their own anuses. And one last fact that I wanted to share was that this parasite, Polystoma nearcticum, is the only member of this genus that lives in North America. And I brought that up, and I think it's interesting, tying back to that fact I mentioned earlier about how these researchers believe that Polystoma may have begun in the Americas and migrated to the rest of the world. So the Polystoma nearcticum may be a very close descendant of that original species. Thanks.